So if you're using AI, there's a really good chance you're only just scratching the surface of what it can do. Today, we're going to dive into a framework that completely reframes how you interact with AI, turning it from a simple tool into a powerful, creative partner.
Okay, let's just break this down. On the left, you've got the way pretty much everyone starts out, treating AI like a fancier version of Google, right? You ask for facts, summaries, simple stuff. But on the right, that's where the magic really happens. This is about using AI as your co-creator, a strategist that helps you pull out these incredible ideas you might not even know you had.
So that's the real question, isn't it? How do you make that jump? If you feel like you're just stuck in that loop of prompting and hoping for the best, what's the actual secret to unlocking AI's deeper, more collaborative power?
Well, the solution is this really powerful 5-step process called the HEART framework. It was developed by Hervey from herveyinthelab.com. And listen, this is not about asking better prompts. It's about a completely different way of thinking and creating with AI.
It all kicks off with H for human first. And what's so critical here is that this step happens before you even open up ChatGPT. It's a total mindset shift. It's about giving yourself permission to just be messy, to believe that your scattered, unclear thoughts are actually valuable and totally worth exploring. Next up, we've got E, externalize your thoughts. And you can see how this just builds right on that first step. Harvey calls this a cognitive unload. Your brain is for having ideas, not for storing them. So you just dump everything into the AI, the half-baked ideas, the weird observations, the frustrations. You get it all out of your head to free up some space for some real thinking.
And now we're at A, ask for clarity, not answers. And I gotta tell you, this is where most people get it wrong. Instead of demanding a finished product, you use the AI like a soundboard. You might say something like, hey, I feel like these 3 things are connected, but I have no idea how. You're working together to create clarity, not just demanding an answer.
This brings us to the real heart of the process. R for refine through iteration. Once the AI gives you something back, you don't stop. You push deeper. You ask more questions. Is this something everyone struggles with? Could this be its own framework? Has anyone ever studied this? It's like you're an explorer with a flashlight in a foggy forest. Every question just lets you see a little bit further.
And finally, we get to T for translate for real life. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's the bridge from just a thought to actual action. You take that polished, clarified idea and you ask, okay, what is this thing really? Could it be a business, an app, a YouTube video? This is where your ideas stop collecting digital dust and start making a real impact in the world.
So, okay, that's the framework in theory. Sounds good, right? But does it actually, work? Let's look at a couple of real-world examples of how the HEART method turned these everyday frustrations into actual products.
All right, here's problem number 1, a super simple, totally human frustration. A friend is just trying to plan a party, but because he's sending invites in 2 different languages, it's total chaos. He's juggling 2 separate lists, trying to figure out who gets which version, a total mess.
Now, watch how the HEART method just eats this problem for breakfast. It started with that human observation. Then, that whole messy problem was externalized into ChatGPT. The ask wasn't for a perfect solution, but for clarity on a better way. Through that back-and-forth refinement, the idea for a single, bilingual RSVP flow was born. And finally, it was translated into a real product, invitaro.com. Problem solved. Okay, here's another one. And this is a little more subtle. It's not just about translating words, it's about translating culture. The frustration was seeing all this talk about local parades, but having zero context for why they mattered. And, the standard translation apps, they just weren't cutting it. They missed the whole point.
And again, the framework just provides the perfect path. The whole process kicked off with that very human frustration. The problem was externalized by explaining the need for a tool that gets context, not just words. The ask was for clarity on how you could teach meaning. Through that iterative refinement, the idea evolved into something amazing. An AI that not only translates, but also pops in with real-time cultural notes. And that concept was translated into a new product idea, langalink.com.
Okay, so we can see how this works for building individual products. But the HEART method can power a much, much bigger strategy. We're talking about a path for any small business to grow from just a local player into a national leader. This slide right here shows just how scalable this whole approach is. Think of it as a roadmap. Every single step on this path to legendary can be supercharged using the HEART method to develop the content and the systems you need. You start by building authority in your town with helpful content, then you expand to a national brand selling the very systems you built, and eventually you can reach that legendary status, making money from services, media, and the tools you created.
So, what's the big idea that ties all of this together? The tools, the frameworks, that whole local to legendary strategy? It all comes from one single master philosophy.
The core concept is something we can call digital real estate. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Just like a physical piece of property, your ideas, your systems, your brands, these are assets. They appreciate in value over time. They can be developed into products, courses, and even whole media brands. Every single tool and framework you build with the HEART method is like building another property in your digital portfolio.
So really, the big takeaway here is that every single idea you have, every little problem you see in the world, that's a potential plot of digital land. By applying the HEART method, you're not just thinking anymore, you are actively developing valuable property. So the only question left is the one you see right there. What digital real estate will you build first?